Let's power rank the Western Conference. The Dallas Stars' Finland adventures continue. And how much are the Dallas Stars worth? All that and more on today's episode of Locked On Stars.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer, 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. 24 hours until the Dallas Stars kick off the NHL Global Series tomorrow against the Florida Panthers in Tampere, Finland. It's going to be an absolute blast. Cannot wait to take in these games this weekend. We're going to get you all set up for it tomorrow with a crossover edition of Locked On Stars with Locked On Panthers. So be on the lookout for tomorrow's episode. We're going to power rank the Western Conference today. We're going to discuss the Dallas Stars Finland adventures and how much are the Dallas Stars worth. The Athletic put out an article with the rankings of the most valuable franchises in the NHL. So figured I would share that with you as well on today's episode, which is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Just a heads up as well, I will be doing an episode of Spits and Suds with my former boss at 105 Through the Fan, Gavin Spittle. I'm sure many of you listen to his podcast along with Sean Shapiro, David Castillo, and many others that he brings on throughout the week. I'll be hopping on with him tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that in the next couple of days. I believe it's going to air before this global series, but I was able to catch up with him, which was a ton of fun. So be on the lookout for that as well. But let's get to the task at hand on a Thursday. I figured we'd do some power rankings of the Western Conference. There's some teams that got off to predictable starts, and there's some teams that are certainly treading water currently in the Western Conference, and some of the teams that we thought were going to get off to a very, very hot start this season. So let's go 1 through 16. I wrote them all down here on this dandy piece of a paper I have. So we'll start with the number one team in the Western Conference. I have the Winnipeg Jets. They have been so good right off the rip, and it's hilarious because for those of you that watched our Central Division roundtable with the Predators, with the Avs, me, and the Jets, we all picked Winnipeg to really have a bad season. They were going to be the team that drops out of the playoff conversation. And boy, that has not been the case so far. They already have 8 wins this season. And as I'm recording this, they just beat the brakes off of the Red Wings 6-2 tonight. So they have 16 points through 9 games this season. Kyle Connor has exploded, which I guess isn't a huge surprise. They're up to 18 points now. 9-1-0. Man, they're just getting scoring from Ehlers. Kyle Connor's off to a hot start. And when you have Hellenbuck in net, you're going to win a lot of games. And he's been brilliant so far this season. And yeah, they have a decent backup as well. But they are consistently beating teams, and they're beating them by a pretty decent margin. Their goal differential is plus 22. If it's anything you could sort of nitpick at them in the years past, it was, they don't have a ton of elite scoring. Doesn't feel like they're very deep, but man, they are showing something. Something is clicking right now for the Jets. They're my number one team in this week's West Power Rankings. Number 2, I got the Dallas Stars. The PK's the best in the NHL. Power play starting to find some rhythm. They're 5-0 at home. They got 14 points in 9 games, and we all know what they've been able to produce, and that's with really spotty defensive numbers on the back end. They haven't gotten a ton of production on the defensive side of things. Once that starts to click, I think the Dallas Stars are going to be a very, very tough team offensively, and they already are, right, with the weapons they have, but we're still waiting for guys like Wyatt Johnston. Even Robertson's off to a pretty slow start in terms of goal scoring. those guys are going to figure it out as the season wears along here, and hopefully it happens this weekend in Finland. So the Stars are number 2. I got Vegas at number 3. I want to talk a bit further on the first 4 or 5 teams in this ranking, and then I'll just get through them all. I don't have enough time to sit here and give a soliloquy about all 16 teams, but Vegas has looked really good, and they're a team that I feel like is forgotten about over the last few seasons after they won the Stanley Cup, and they just kind of fly under the radar now, and they're still a really damn good team. Jack Eichel is, he's one of the best two-way players in the entire NHL. He's one of the best center icemen, and he's been leading the charge there. They're 7-0 on home ice. They have a plus 19 goal differential. They're now on a 4-game win streak, and they're sort of just doing what the Vegas Golden Knights do, right? And even with the departures of Marchessault, hey, next man up, they're going to figure it out. They're very deep on the back end. Their defense is still pretty much intact. You have Shea Theodore, you have Pietrangelo. Those guys are all still there with Haig, and yeah, they're good. They're really good. I don't think they're going to be an 8 seed this year unless some injuries happen and and they sneak their way back in to the postseason. Number 4 is the Wild. Kaprizov is being Kaprizov, and they're getting production from their top 2 lines. We discussed it with Seth Tupal of Locked On Wild. He said they're going to be a playoff team if they can get production from both. Matt Boldy having an excellent season. Kaprizov is often flying. I think he has 12. He's 12 goals, or he's a part of 12 goals at 5-on-5 this season. And they have one of the best lines, him and Zuccarello, and I believe Rossi is the other wing on that line. In terms of 5-on-5, they're one of the best lines in all of hockey right now. If you look at the 5-on-5 numbers, they are extremely, extremely efficient, and they're playing really, really well off the hop. So I got the Wild at 4, and I was pretty high on Minnesota coming into the season. I have Vancouver at number 5. Pettersson's not scoring, and they're still finding a way to win games. Calgary 6. They've kind of been the surprise, and they're figuring it out, even when they're supposed to sort of be rebuilding. I got LA at 7, Seattle at 8, and then I got Colorado at 9. And Colorado could really take a dip here in the next few weeks. They are dealing with a ton of injuries. 9 out of their 12 forwards coming into the year are now hurt, and they didn't get off to a very good start to begin with. Makar's just lighting the world on fire. So is McKinnon, but I don't know how they're going to survive this stretch. They're missing Ross Colton now for a couple of weeks. We already know what's going on with Nichushkin and Landeskog. Like, who knows when those guys are going to come back, if they're even going to be the same type of players. Like, Colorado has an uphill climb. It may be a miracle if they get in the postseason. For a team that, a lot of us feel like we're still a lock coming into the year. St. Louis, I got 10. Then Edmonton, that is going to start figuring it out. Utah at 12. They're exciting. Not there yet. Nashville at 13. And they have the chance to make a big, big leap. I said they were going to get off to a slow start. They got some things to figure out. And, there's been some flashes of it. Marchessault is still finding his rhythm. Stamkos slowly but surely will start to find his game as well. At least they hope so. And then I got Ducks, Blackhawks, and the Sharks to round out the 16 teams in the West. So your top 5, I got Winnipeg, Dallas, Vegas, and Minnesota. The Athletic puts out their top 5 teams and bottom 5 teams in the NHL. And the Stars were number 1. This was posted a couple of days ago. We got the Stars number 1 team for the road to Stanley Cup. We get a really nice early season showdown this week. Stars facing the Panthers in an old school back-to-back in Tampere, Finland on Friday and Saturday. So they have the Stars up there with the best chance to win the Stanley Cup. New York is behind them at 2. Then you have, of course, the NHL Global Series matchup. Florida is right there. And then you got Winnipeg, who has now added a couple of wins since then. They have been a lot of fun to watch so far. So the Stars are getting their respect as well nationally, and the West has had a lot of surprises. You look at the East, and the teams up there. Washington's kind of a surprise at 6-2, but Other than that, it's kind of the teams you would think would be in there. I mean, Columbus is off and running to a decent start to this season as well. But the Central, I mean, right now, if you look at the top 8 teams, Central has 3 of the teams, but Pacific has 5 actually, with Vegas, LA, Vancouver, Calgary, and Seattle. So yeah, there's some parity within the West, that's for sure. Colorado is going to be kind of the wild card. Like, can they survive with all their high end talent? Like, yeah, they have McCarr, Ranson, and McKinnon, but that is a lot of injuries you're dealing with. So, it gives teams like St. Louis and even Seattle, who, may have thought to be a team that would be on the outside looking in the wild card spots. I know it's only October, right? But the wild card currently is Calgary and Seattle. So, if Colorado drops out, that's 2 extra teams that you could see kind of vying a bid. And we thought maybe we thought maybe the Central would have 5 teams going this season, but with Nashville off to a really, really tough start, and if they don't turn it around quickly, they may be so far behind the 8 ball, it may be too late. And again, we're only a month into this thing. A lot of things can happen from now until November, but maybe a Calgary and Seattle, if they play good enough, for a large part of this season, they can find themselves in the playoff picture. So I think it brings some excitement too. But I think the top of the West is really, really darn good. But you may get some teams like even a Seattle or LA this season that maybe on paper isn't that great, but they're going to make a push to be a factor in the postseason. So, but that's what I've seen in the first month or so of the 2024-25 season. I've watched more hockey than ever here the last month. I was kind of going through it in August. I was I was excited for games to be back, and I've watched a lot of teams this season. So I feel like I have a nicer grasp on what we've kind of seen out of the West. I've been playing fantasy as well, so that kind of helps kind of keep track of your lineup and stuff. But I got 5 stars, so that way I keep a really close eye. So I kind of live and die with stars, which is not always a great thing. But hey, man, of course you want to go out and get Robertson and Johnston. Who would leave those guys on the board? Okay, that is my power rankings of the Western Conference for October 31st. Happy Halloween, by the way. Hope you have a safe and wonderful Halloween. Get you some sweet treats and have a fantastic night. Let me know who you're dressing up as. Any costumes you guys are going with. Let me know in the comment section below. All righty, let's segue into some of the content coming out of Finland and the Dallas Stars. Some great stuff on Victory Plus and really some wonderful things the Stars are doing, especially the Finns. We'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get that hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Get in on the action this Sunday. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. The Dallas Stars are taking Finland by storm, and it is amazing to see all the Dallas Stars fans from Texas that have made their way over to Finland. Daryl, the Razor Ray, has put out a couple of great vlogs on Victory Plus. Be sure to check those out. He's as good as they get. And all the Stars fans that were in Helsinki and then eventually going to Tampere tomorrow for the Global Series has been fantastic. There's been a couple of things that the Stars have done that I wanted to touch on. Esa Lindell was a co-owner, or not was, but is a co-owner of Jokerit, which is a team in the second-tier league in Finland, and he's a co-owner. And He signed autographs. He dropped a ceremonial puck at their game, which was a couple of days ago now, and there was just a huge line to meet him. And this is what it's all about, right? The NHL, I think, has done a great job for all the flack we kind of give the league for their marketing and some of the issues they have of just promoting their stars. Like, this is the stuff that is so great to get fans involved, because there's just such a large untapped potential of fan bases over in Europe that just love the game of hockey, that are crazy about it. And the Scandinavian countries are some of the best, and especially Finland with the deep ties to the stars. And, Esa and Roope, like those are huge stars for them. And, you look at, I mean, just to tap into some of my own experience with the team I cover, the Ice Rays. Like we have 4 different players from Scandinavia. We have one from Norway. We got a couple from Sweden, one from Finland. Like it's a big deal. Even we have a few from Belarus, but the Russia side of things. Like we have a goaltender from Belarus that has grown up looking up to players like Shesterkin, right, and Bobrovsky. Like those are the players that I admire. And he grew up watching a lot of KHL. He likes the KHL more than the NHL, right? Like that is a real thing. And I'm sure there's a lot of fans like in Sweden that like the Liga, the top Swedish league over there. Like they probably grow up watching them more than the NHL just because of the time difference and all that. But like it's so untapped and such great hockey culture as well. And I think it's just been so fantastic what the Stars have been able to do. And they go full out, right? They're involved, and as you would expect them to. And it just looks like they're having an absolute blast. Roope Hintz as well. Definitely want to shout out this in connection with the Global Series. Hintz has launched a signature shoe with a portion of proceeds supporting kids in his home country. So very, very cool stuff to see. That's on X as well. You can get a look at the shoe and what he's doing. Here's a quote from Roope. It says, "The shoes are especially for Finland and Finnish fans who mean a lot to me. I'm proud of my homeland." So Hintz's unique shoes combines fashion and charity. A portion of the proceeds are going to the Dreams Come True project by SOS Children's Village, supporting extracurricular activities for underprivileged children. So how about that? And great stuff for Roope. It says, the Dreams Come True project helps 2,000 children each year in Finland. Hintz will play in his home country, of course, on Friday and Saturday. So great stuff from Roope, and just awesome stuff. It's been awesome to see everything that's coming out and all the content. Be sure to follow Leah from the Dallas Morning News, Robert Tiffin as well. They are over in Finland. So I'm sure many of you are already on that. But if you haven't, be sure to follow them. They're putting out great stuff, articles, and all kinds of fantastic things while they're over in Finland. So be sure to show them some love for going over there and covering the Stars. Like that's I'm sure it's kind of a vacation for them, but it'll be work here on Friday and Saturday when the games get rolling. The Stars play on Friday, which will be tomorrow, 1 o'clock puck drop on Friday. It's on Victory Plus, and then 11 a.m. on Saturday. So I know I keep hammering those home, but they are different start times. So be on the lookout for that. The NHL Global Series, Stars versus Panthers, and Barkov is back. And just a quick few notes on the Panthers. Man, they are deep as it gets in the NHL at the center position. You look at the numbers their centers have put up right now. Reinhart leads the way, 16 points. Bennett with 12. Anton Lundell with 12 points. And then Barkov, who's only played 3 games, but he has 3 points. And his first 3 contests, like, they are deep, they are physical. And look, this is a great measuring stick too. Don't get it wrong. It's a lot of fun for this whole kind of pageantry of being in Finland, but this is a great measuring stick game for the Stars because, Florida looks like a team that could repeat. They have that swagger now. They are kind of what you feel like a lot of teams are trying to get to, like, where they're just nasty, they're mean, but they can score and they get great goaltending, right? Like, that's what the Stars are kind of trying to be. And you feel like with some of the offseason moves they made, that was kind of the model, right? It's a copycat league. So they're trying to become that team, like I think like Florida is. I think all other 32 should be trying the same as well. Like, that's the team you kind of want to become, because they play a great style of playoff hockey, and yeah, that's the way you win Stanley Cups. So can't wait till it gets underway tomorrow. And yes, again, shameless plug, crossover edition with Locked On Panthers tomorrow that will air before the games kick off. Alrighty, let's talk about how much the Dallas Stars are worth. There's a lot of hoopla, especially in the DFW Metroplex, with the Dallas Cowboys, who are just one of the most wealthiest sports franchise in the entire world. I'm pretty sure they are. They are the biggest and most wealthiest sports franchise. But where do the Stars fall in this, and where do other teams in the NHL rank up? We'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings. PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. I downloaded the PrizePicks app. It's free. It's available on the smartphone. You get it on Apple. You get it on Google Play. You can do hockey. You can do football, like football and soccer. You can do football here in America, and just pick more or less for certain things like receiving yards, goals, saves, you name it. They have it on PrizePicks. And you can use the code LOCKEDONNHL right now and get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. You heard me correctly. Use the code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even have to win, and you can get $50 instantly. So go ahead and get it. PrizePicks. Run your game. NHL franchise evaluations are up 37%. So how much are the Dallas Stars worth? This article is by James Myrtle of The Athletic, and it says the average NHL franchise is now valued at a whopping $1.79 billion, up 37% in the past year alone. That number is based on valuations from a report released Wednesday by Sportico, its 4th annual examination of franchise values around the league. And some of these aren't a surprise. The Toronto Maple Leafs are currently valued the most high at $3.66 billion, which is actually a 38% increase. The Rangers are up there. You get a lot of original 6 teams. New York and Montreal. Boston is there as well. How about LA up in the top 5 at $2.5 billion? And you got Chicago. But the Dallas Stars are right around middle of the pack at $1.65 billion. That is a 49% increase, though. And it is actually tied. Actually, it looks like second for the biggest increase. Maybe fourth in that. Boston was 50%, Edmonton 51%. Then you have the Stars at 49% with the Islanders. And then Utah's actually up 78%, which I guess isn't a huge surprise with finally getting out of Arizona. So a big increase for the Dallas Stars. And just to jam a little knife in there for Wild fans out there, the Stars are just a couple of ticks above them. So that's almost a good feeling if you're a Stars fan or if you're the Dallas Stars organization. But they're right around middle of the pack. And of course, Dallas has made a lot of waves recently, especially coming out of the early 10s in bankruptcy. They have done a wonderful job since Tom Gillardi has bought the Stars, and they're doing a lot of crazy things. So you look at U.S. teams, the average is $1.71 billion. That's a 37% increase. Sunbelt teams, $1.58 billion. Northern team's a bit more expensive at 1.78. So, and then original 6 teams are way up there. They have done quite well for themselves, which isn't a huge surprise, anyways. But thought it was pretty fun. Says other teams making large gains: Edmonton, you got Boston, New York, and Dallas. Arenas that opened in the past decade helped several franchises, including Edmonton and Long Island. So yeah, you invest some money, you make some money, right? You gotta spend money to make money, as the old cliche goes sometimes. So yeah, the Dallas Stars right in there around middle of the pack, and thought that would be something fun to share here on a Thursday episode of Locked On Stars as we get you ready tomorrow for the NHL Global Series, a crossover edition of Locked On Stars with Locked On Panthers. Cannot wait for that, and cannot wait for the games to get underway. I'll put Shooting Star out tomorrow, by the way. We'll put it out on the YouTube via the community tab, so be on the lookout for that. We will play on Friday and Saturday, see if we can pick some heroes, and man, it's going to be a great test. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully the Stars can pick up a couple W's. That would be real nice before they come back home to face Chicago next Thursday, I believe. So that'll do it for an episode of Locked On Stars. Just a quick one for you. I feel like we're just kind of counting down the days now until these games start back up again. Please hit the subscribe button, drop a like, drop a comment below as well. Happy Halloween. I hope you guys have had a wonderful week so far, but I'm missing Dallas Stars hockey, so I'm excited for these games to get back into action. As always, thank you guys so much for the love and support. It's an absolute blast and a blessing to be able to do this every single day. So have a fantastic rest of your Thursday. Enjoy the games this weekend, and we'll see you next week when we return. Have a fantastic day, and so long, Stars fans.